Hello, my name's Andy. Welcome to episode 24 of Keeping Water. In this first episode of 2021, I'm going to be showing some of the new stuff I've been lucky to get at Christmas, have a look at how the properly cold weather has impacted the pond and garden, and finally show how I deal with unwelcome, to me at least, visitors to the pond. I hope everyone had a fun Christmas and you and your ponds are doing well. Once again, thank you to everyone who has taken the time to watch my videos, and to subscribers, new and old. As I mentioned in a previous video, I'm really ambitiously aiming to reach 50 subscribers before I get to 26 episodes or 6 months of the channel. I'm delighted to say that at the time of making this video, I'm at 49, although as one of those 49 is me via my other YouTube account, I really do need to hit 51. Anyway, I have a growing library on the channel, so please subscribe to catch more of my videos. I release one episode a week on a Saturday morning throughout the year, and other videos intermittently when I have time. Please also consider sharing and liking. I do love a name check, and it will help grow the channel. Right, for the first time in 2021, let's get started. Due to the generosity of Santa and my family, I've got a lot of new stuff to share. Firstly, I have something I included in my Xmas presents for pond keeping YouTubers episode, a waterproof light for my GoPro. I've got this for two reasons. Firstly, for filming at night, and secondly for filming in the low light typical of cloudy grey winter days. The light attaches to the GoPro of the same type of mounting that the GoPro uses for all of its mountings, and you can attach the pair to all the usual items you use. It adds some weight, obviously, which affects the balance a little, but works well. As for its effectiveness, let's look at two early tests. The first one took place at night. From above the pond, the light appeared to send out a bright cone, which illuminated quite a large section of the pond. The result was okay. It was interesting to see that the rudd continued to be their usual shoaling moving selves and also seemed quite attracted to the light. The carp, alternatively, were resting on the bottom and were not too pleased with a bright light invading their space. The light clearly didn't enable the quality of the image to match a brightly lit daytime scene, but it did enable me to see what the fish were doing during the hours of darkness. Although, as always, there's the risk that the act of observing influences the phenomenon being observed, and certainly a selfie stick and a bright light stuck into a comparatively small body of water will undoubtedly affect the fish's actions and behaviour. The second test took place during a dull afternoon with little sunlight. I first put the light and GoPro in with the light off to give a baseline to compare to. The first image was the usual grainy result, lacking definition and colour, something I wanted to address with the light. Turning the light on and replacing the GoPro in the pond didn't quite give the results I was after. The light didn't seem to reach far into the pond or improve the brightness and clarity of the image too much. However, whether this is the best I can hope for or due to the particular conditions on the day, time will tell. The water had a particularly high amount of suspended detritus, more than usual, due to the recent heavy rain washing a lot of dirt into the pond. This may have led to a similar effect as a bright car headlight shining into fog, with the GoPro light reflecting off particles and actually making no good improvement to the visibility. I'll obviously do more testing. It may be that changing the angle of the light, or even not attaching it directly to the GoPro and positioning it elsewhere might help. Or just trying when my water is clearer again will give better results. I'll update in a future episode. This wasn't the only new light I got over Christmas. I also got a couple of solar powered spotlights. These aren't designed to light up the pond, but to just give a more aesthetic rather than functional effect. I didn't realise they were green, but quite like the effect they give. Design and artistry aren't my strong points, but I quite like the effect, and it would be interesting to add another, maybe different colour light to develop the overall look. Any advice or tips would be gratefully received. On to the item I've been waiting for the longest, and the one that I hope will have the most significant impact on the well-being of the pond, and therefore the fish. I've spoken a lot in past episodes of the need to have a pond vac, and I was obviously on the nice list this year as there was one for me under the tree. It was the same model as I've used before, an Oasi Pondtech Pondomatic, which I found worked really well for my needs, the only downside being that as one of the cheaper versions it doesn't have continuous suction. The only other issue, and one I would have with any model, is removing the dirty water to waste, as I don't want to return it to the pond and I don't have a drain close by. I'm solving this by using my ubiquitous 60 litre tub to collect the water, and my equally ubiquitous submersible pump to then pump it to my front garden drain as the tub fills. I completed a test clean during the week, which went well. However, the water was really cloudy after the heavy rainfall I mentioned, which made a clear before and after video impossible. And, as I'm also waiting for some more attachments for the pond vac, I'll therefore include a fuller review and guidance video in next week's episode. The next Christmas gift I got was this inspection bowl. One of the problems that occurred when netting and measuring my fish each year is them damaging themselves. In the rigid tub I use, they often swim directly into the sides. With this bowl, any impact would be reduced, and the colour and round shape would hopefully help them to not do it so much. It's collapsible, which helps with storage, and was much cheaper than most dedicated koi inspection bowls. I'm not planning on using it until autumn 2021, when I'll measure the fish again. Unless, of course, there are any health issues between now and then. I've also recently started buying parts for my new moving bed that I will be adding to the filter shed. So far, I've bought a 150 litre sump, some rigid 2-inch pipe, some rubber 90-degree connectors, two 2-inch tank connectors for input and output, and a 1.5-inch one for waste. And finally some support grid, which I'll be covering with a lighter, finer mesh to hold the K1 micro that I'll be using. There'll be a while before this is completed and functioning. I've got other jobs to do in the shed and other parts to buy over time. However, I'll film each stage and include the complete process in a future episode once it's successfully installed. In a past episode, I mentioned how many frogs I get in the pond, and that I'm not a great fan. I also pointed out they especially like to settle in the skimmer box. However, the day I was filming this, they didn't play ball and there was none in there. However, when I complete the weekly skimmer clean, I always check the box carefully as they're great at hiding in it. As well as the one I found, there was a second frog in the skimmer box that I didn't see till much further into the cleaning process. Anyway, once collecting frogs from my pond, I take them a short trip to a nearby stream, which on this occasion was quite flooded, and then introduce it to its new home. I'm only really keeping numbers down. There'll always be frogs that evade my searching or find their way back into the garden, but as long as they don't overrun it too much, then I'm happy. In other skimmer related news, I'm trying out a new way of removing detritus from the pond. I'm hoping that adding filter floss to the skimmer will help reduce finer items that aren't currently removed from the pond by the rest of my system. I bought some cheap floss that, as you can see, were much smaller sheets than I'd realised, but I put it into position as best I could. After a couple of days, I checked on how it had worked and also replaced it with some better floss I ordered. The new floss was more easily placed in the skimmer basket and provides more complete coverage. I'll check this again after a couple of days and review. Although this isn't the time of year with the highest amount of waste in the water, as can be told by the original floss here, there is a fair amount being collected. So far, the flow of the skimmer doesn't appear to be unduly affected. This is a worry, however, especially for when there is more waste to collect. I'll see how well the floss can work without impacting the skimmer's effectiveness. Again, I'll update in a future episode after more testing. This last week has seen a significant drop in temperatures, from 4 degrees air temp and 6 degrees water to below 1 degree air and 1.8 water. At night the temperatures have been dropping below zero with an accompanying frost, and this has often lasted to almost lunchtime on some days. There's also been some snowfall, though without too much actually settling. Local bodies of water have started to show some surface freezing, with one particularly small one completely freezing over. Garden ponds are obviously a little more resistant, often having more surface agitation and moving water, meaning it usually takes longer periods of severe cold for them to freeze, fortunately. Anyway, without focusing on bad winter memories, let's look at how the fish are doing. Although I will feed in sub 10 degree temperatures, the current rapid drop to significantly below 5 degrees water temp has meant I've not even considered offering food. The fish aren't entirely sedentary, the rudd and carp still moving around the pond. The tench are hiding away a little more, which is normal for them. Aside from testing the GoPro light, I've given the fish a little Christmas break from underwater filming. However, over the next week or so, I'll continue with it in preparation for January's Underwater Watch in episode 26. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Keeping Water. I really do appreciate it. If you've enjoyed it, please give it a like, share it, and consider subscribing to the channel. Next week, amongst other things, I'll be looking more at the pond vac, with hopefully some before and after comparisons. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.